They thought we were screaming. The first time they heard us, I was strapped into a drop pod, fists clenched around the harness, with a grin so wide it hurt my face. Around me were 7 other humans, and not a damn one of us was quiet. We hooped. We roared. We howled with something primal. The Giarnak, our allied recon team, heard it through their intercoms and panicked. Their squad commander thought we were dying, being tortured, some kind of biochemical warfare, maybe. They tried to abort the drop. They didn't understand. They didn't understand that we were laughing, not the polite kind, not the fake chuckle in a boardroom or the hollow giggle on a diplomatic floor. This was a laugh of thrilled junkies plunging headfirst into the atmosphere of an uncharted death world with only 2.4% survival odds. I can still hear Ruiz behind me yelling, "Let's make them regret giving us gravity." We were the Terran Vanguard. First wave, human special ops. The alien coalition had invited us for support, nervously, cautiously. They'd heard of Earth, the war-born planet, the death world. But they didn't get us, not yet. And they sure as hell weren't ready for what we were about to do. When we hit the ground, we landed hot, dropships screaming overhead, plasma bolts scorching through the jungle air. A biomechanical race called the Corinth had seized a planetary relay, vital to the Galactic Council's communication grid. Their fortification pulsed with an eerie violet shimmer, and surrounding it was a kill zone they said was impassable. Guess what word you don't say to a human squad? They said we'd never reach the tower alive. So we ran toward it like it was calling us home. The Giarnak and their support team watched from orbit. The audio feed was still on. Later, I learned what they heard. Screams echoing through the trees, overlapping with maniacal laughter and the high-pitched whistle of incoming fire. To them, it was madness. They didn't know that for us, it was a Tuesday. We didn't just fight. We played. We made a game out of dodging plasma shots. I remember Henderson vaulting over a burning log, his coat on fire, laughing like he was at a damn carnival. He tagged me on the shoulder and yelled, "You're it!" I charged through their outer defenses like a berserker god, cackling as I went. And that's what broke the Corinth. They had fought 100 species, but none had enjoyed it. They weren't prepared for enemies who roared not in pain, but in delight, who bled and laughed harder, who took shrapnel and then sprinted faster. They saw us not as soldiers, but as lunatics, possessed by something they didn't understand. It wasn't rage. It wasn't bloodlust. It was the thrill of being alive, the high of dancing with death. And when the Corinth heard our screams, they retreated, abandoned their post, left the tower fully intact. We'd won by laughing. Later, in the debrief room aboard the Council's flagship, High Commander TSKVA asked me a single question. What were those sounds? Were you being consumed? I leaned forward, bloody, bruised, and grinning. That's just how humans say hello when things get fun. She didn't reply. She just blinked all 6 eyes in slow horror. It wasn't the last time we heard that question. It wouldn't be the last time we answered with a smile. Because the galaxy hadn't learned the truth yet. That the most terrifying thing about humans isn't our weapons. It's our joy. They watched us eat breakfast the next day, like we were a ticking bomb no one wanted to touch. Giarnak specialists, Carthari diplomats, even a couple of Morvani-sized sensors floated nearby, pretending not to stare. Every species on this joint warship had heard the story overnight, that the humans had stormed a fortified zone, laughed while bleeding, and terrified the Corinth into full retreat. No one said it, but I knew the whisper traveling through the ranks. The humans are insane. They weren't wrong. I sat at the long, alloyed mess table, chewing on compressed protein and coffee thick enough to patch hull breaches. Across from me was Ruiz, holding court like a space cowboy. She had one boot on the table, her combat jacket still scorched at the sleeve, and she was animatedly reenacting her mid-battle period through a hail of gunfire. And I swear I saw his face twitch. Corinth don't blink, but this one flinched, like he just realized I was smiling with a frag grenade in my teeth. Our Giarnak liaison, Officer Kirex, shifted uncomfortably beside us. Their species looked like armored mantises dipped in chrome. Even their voice sounded like cautious footsteps. Why do you display joy while engaging lethal threats? Ruiz looked up, blinking innocently. You ever go cliff diving? Skydive? Ride a mag rail bike without the auto brakes? No, Kirek said flatly. Those activities are statistically suicidal. That's the point, I said. He turned to me, mandibles clicking. You seek death. No, I said, cracking a rare smile. We flirt with it. 2 hours later, we got the assignment that proved the universe still hadn't figured us out. We were being sent to Alaris 9, a moon base overtaken by the Skarn Collective, a hive mind species of whispering parasites that fed on fear. Fed on it. Our command brief was simple. The Skarn spread via neurochemical resonance. Their most effective weapon is psychic manipulation through fear hallucinations. All species on record have broken under prolonged exposure. Recommended action: slow breach, drone surveillance, and methodical clearing. I laughed during the briefing. Couldn't help it. The room went dead quiet. Commander TSKVA narrowed all 6 eyes at me. Is something humorous? Just ironic, I said, stretching my shoulders. You're sending the wrong species to the right problem. Ruiz chimed in. You want fear? Buddy, that's our jam. We live in it. They dropped us onto Alaris 9 in total silence. The air was thick with static. The ruins of the moon base stood half swallowed by creeping black tendrils, like veins made of shadow. The moment we stepped inside, the hallucinations began. The Skarn's whispers were like static in our heads. Visuals flickered the edge of vision. Your worst memories, your ugliest fears. Henderson grinned and muttered, Oh, cool. They're playing the hits. The Giarnox squad monitoring us from orbit watched in growing confusion. Every species they'd sent in prior had either frozen in panic or fled gibbering. We didn't. We laughed. The base was a house of horrors, and we strolled through it like it was a haunted amusement park. I passed a hallway where the walls bled the faces of people I'd lost. My old squad, my brother, my mother, all of them crying, blaming me. I just chuckled. Nice try. The Skarn wanted us to break, but we were already broken. That's the thing they didn't understand. Humans carry fear, wear like a second skin, but we build entire cultures on turning fear into stories, into songs, into comedy clubs. Fear doesn't make us run. It makes us creative. Ruiz walked straight into the hive chamber and started clapping. Bravo. The shadow tentacle aesthetic? Very 21st century horror. But I give you a 6 out of 10 on originality. The Skarn screamed. Not mentally. Not psychically. Audibly. The whole hive wailed with an unnatural sound, like metal grinding on bone. They had never met prey that enjoyed the fear. And that's when they began to die. We torched the hive with laughter in our throats and fire in our hands. When we emerged 4 hours later, the feed went out to the Council command channel. All they saw was 8 humans, bruised, bloodied, covered in ash, joking like they just finished a paintball match. One of the Morvani scribes wrote in her official log, the humans do not resist fear. They consume it, transform it. Their laughter is not absence of pain. It is defiance of it. They are the only known species for whom trauma becomes a weapon. That log got circulated to every species by week's end. The title? When Humans Laugh, Run. You know a species is truly afraid of you when they stop speaking to you and start speaking about you in hushed tones and encrypted channels. After Alaris 9, that's exactly what the Galactic Council did. We weren't summoned to the debrief room. We were summoned to the Hall of Titans. The name sounds impressive, and it is. It's a gravity-sealed cathedral orbiting the neutral core world of Veraxis Prime. No weapons allowed. No suits. No command staff. Just representatives of every intelligent species, seated like judges over the rest of the galaxy. When we arrived, they didn't let us walk in fully armed like usual. They took our armor, our gear. Even the old scarred jacket Ruiz insisted was her luck charm. I think they were scared we'd accidentally conquer the room by sneezing too loudly. We walked through the arch threshold, 8 humans in standard issue fatigues. And even that was enough to make a Vextran war priest reach for his sidearm by instinct. He froze when he remembered it was gone. Good call, because we were already scanning the chamber for escape routes. We always do. Commander TSKAVA presided over the central dais, her voice clicking with restraint. Human operatives, you were summoned not for commendation, but concern. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't we just liberate an entire moon base without casualties? There were casualties, she said, holding up a holograph. The Skarn Collective lost 2 Hive Queens and an Elder Intelligence. They have retreated from 6 sectors. They say the presence of humans causes their psychic structures to collapse. You are, apparently, incompatible with fear-based architecture. Henderson whispered, "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me." A translucent Morvani floated forward next, her eyes like pools of static. She spoke in a voice that echoed within your head rather than ears. The Terran reaction to existential horror was laughter, joy, sarcasm, mockery. It destabilized a Class 7 fear construct in under 9 minutes. She looked down at us as if we were the anomaly. She wasn't wrong. We evolved on a planet, I said slowly, where everything sharp, fast, poisonous, or hungry tried to kill us. And when it didn't kill us, we made jokes about it. Stories, legends. We made fear into campfires. I looked around the chamber, locking eyes with every species present. What did you do with fear? Silence. Even the mighty Drakthal were delegates. 12-foot insectoid juggernauts clad in ceremonial bone armor looked away. I saw something in their eyes I hadn't seen before, respect and caution. Then came the unexpected twist. The lights dimmed, the chamber stilled, and from a hidden panel behind the dais, a figure emerged, not alien, not council, human. He wore no uniform, no insignia, just a charcoal gray suit and gloves that never moved independently from his wrists. His face was ageless, like someone who'd forgotten how to die. Every alien present straightened. The Morvanis glow dimmed. The Drakthal bristled. Even TSKVA stepped aside. He stepped toward us without a sound, stopped directly in front of me, and smiled. Not warmly, not cruelly, just knowingly. "Captain Raleigh," he said in perfect Terran standard, "you and your team have impressed the Council. Didn't know we were auditioning." "Oh, but you were," he said, "and you passed." He turned back toward the Council. "You see, your mistake was assuming laughter is weakness. That screams mean surrender. But humanity's screams are different." He faced them all now, voice deepening. "You've seen them scream in combat, in fear, in fire. You thought it was agony. You thought it was terror. But you missed the truth." He raised one hand. "You heard screams. But what you were hearing was the joy of the apex predator when the hunt begins." He motioned for us to follow. Council be damned. None dared stop him. And we followed, down the marble halls, through sealed doors, into a part of the station I didn't know existed. Ruiz whispered beside me, "Who the hell is that guy?" I shook my head. "He's not a guy. He's something else." And she was right, because what we found in the lower levels changed everything. Rows of black vaults, locked archives, screens showing other Terran units, laughing in fire, screaming into battle, psych profiles so redacted even I couldn't understand them. We thought we were the first human squad in Galactic Ops. We were wrong. We weren't the first. We were the first ones they let off the leash. The vault door sealed behind us with a hiss that felt like a closing casket. Dim lighting glowed from recessed wall strips, illuminating the polished obsidian floors and vaults stacked like tombs. There were no guards, no cameras, nothing mechanical moved. And yet, I felt like we were being watched by something far older than machines. The man in gray, still unnamed, still unchallenged, led us deeper into the restricted wing. His steps echoed with deliberate weight. When Ruiz leaned toward me and whispered, "Okay, who the hell is this guy really?" I shrugged. "I don't know, but the bugs are scared of him. That makes him family." He stopped in front of a vault labeled only with a number, 0001A. It opened with a retinal scan. Of course. Inside was a chamber the size of a small hangar. No lights came on, but a hollow projector buzzed to life, casting an image into the dark. Grainy footage. Human soldiers. Early generation space marines. Not us. Not even close. They were brutal, messy, unhinged, and laughing. Always laughing. I thought we were the first Terran Ops squad cleared for Council support. I said quietly. You were the first control one, he replied, still watching the footage. But not the first. The image flickered, showing what looked like an alien village. Or what was left of one. Smoke, wreckage, scorched craters. They called them the Pathfinders, he said. Black File Division, unrecorded in Council databases. Deployed decades ago when the galactic frontiers first opened. No treaties, no observers, just exploration through excessive deterrence. Ruiz scoffed. You mean murder? He gave a slow nod. And they were very good at it. We watched in silence as the old footage rolled on. A squad of humans storming a Galactic stronghold, laughing as acid rounds chewed through walls. Singing songs as bodies dropped around them. At one point, a Galactic officer dropped his weapon and fell to his knees. The lead Pathfinder grinned, walked over, and gave him a cigarette, then pulled the pin on a grenade and stuffed it into his own chest rig, with the spoon still on, just to watch the panic. Then they hugged, laughed, and walked away, leaving the pin grenade in place like some sort of deranged cosmic prank. That's psychotic, Henderson muttered. The man in gray turned to us, and for the first time, I saw something behind his eyes. Not malice, regret. They were too effective. We lost them. Not physically, psychologically. They became something else. Something we couldn't reel back. Where are they now? I asked. He hesitated, and then said the words I'll never forget. Some still roam, hiding. Others were sealed in vaults like this one. Cryolocked, red stamped. Because the Council was terrified of what humans looked like when they stopped pretending to be civilized. That's when Ruiz said it. The thing I think we were all afraid to admit. But we're just like them. The man in gray nodded. You are, but with one key difference. He faced us fully now. You know when to stop. They didn't. A terminal hummed to life beside us. 8 seal files blinked on the screen, each marked with a code, each labeled with a name. I felt a chill crawl down my spine, because one of them was mine. The man in gray tapped the console. Everything you've done, every engagement, every moment you laughed while bleeding, was recorded, evaluated, compared. To what? I asked. He leaned forward. To them. To the originals. Outside the vault, the Hall of Titans debated policies and procedures. Inside, we were staring down a truth no one had prepared us for. We weren't pioneers. We were successors, upgraded versions of weapons they had buried in cold steel tombs. And now the Council wanted to decide if we were better left walking free or sealed up beside our predecessors. When we stepped back into the corridor, a Morvani envoy stood waiting. Face unreadable, glow dim. The Council has voted, she said. The pause made it worse. They have determined that humans may no longer operate without psychological restraint oversight. From this point forward, all Terran squads will be embedded with an alien monitor and mental regulator. Henderson snorted. You mean a babysitter? TSKV approached from behind. Her tone was as brittle as a crack blade. You frighten the galaxy, Captain Raleigh, and frightened species make stupid decisions. I turned to her. Let me ask you something. She blinked, curious. What's scarier? The sound of human screams echoing through a battlefield. I stepped closer, lower my voice. Or what happens when those screams stop? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. They tried to chain the storm. A week after the Council's resolution, they assigned us a monitor. Species, Yelvani. Genderless. Biosynthetic. Named Oracle. A living neural filter wrapped in a translucent cloak. With a voice like water dripping in a cave. Its purpose? Psychological oversight. Emotional modulation. Behavior correction. In other words, a leash. Oracle arrived without preamble. No knock. No introduction. just floated into our barracks like it owned the oxygen. I will reside with you now, it said flatly, to ensure your stability does not degrade to Pathfinder levels. Henderson muttered under his breath, and I thought rooming with Ruiz was bad. She threw a boot at him. We thought we'd be grounded. But no, they still needed us. The Outer Rim was boiling over. Pirate lords resurfacing. Hive worlds destabilizing. And the Corinth, oh, they were getting bold again, seizing stations in sectors long thought quiet. So the Council sent us in with our leash in tow. The mission was simple. A mining station had gone dark on the edge of Sector Juno. Last ping? A distress signal drowned in static and distorted laughter. Everyone assumed it was a comms glitch. We didn't. When our shuttle docked, we knew something was wrong. Lights flickered. Air smelled like ozone and metal rot. And every corridor was too quiet. Oracle floated ahead, scanning. No signs of aggression. Life forms faint. Psychological interference present. Great, Ruiz muttered. Haunted house in space. Again. We split up. Standard protocol. But even spread out, we heard it. Whispers. Not words. Not alien speech. Laughter. But not ours. Deeper. Wrong. Familiar in the worst kind of way. We found them in the lower levels. 3 of them. Humans. Old armor. Scarred. Wrong insignia. No IFF tags. Just crude etchings on their gear named Scratch by Knife. Reaper. Snaps. Document. One was sitting atop a pile of shredded pirate gear, flipping a coin. Another was eating something raw. The third had a necklace of extracted comm implants. They didn't even flinch when we walked in. The one called Reaper looked up and smiled. About time. The new kids, huh? Ruiz raised her rifle. Who the hell are you? Pathfinders, he said. Just that. Like it explained the whole nightmare. Oracle began to hum. Not musically, mechanically. A warning tone. These individuals are not cleared. They are psychologically unsound. Highly dangerous. Council Order 117B. Detain or terminate. Henderson slowly lifted his rifle. But I didn't. I just stepped forward. You were the first. Reaper nodded. Yeah, we were. And we didn't stop. Not when they told us to. Not when they begged. Snaps laughed. They buried us in reports and red tape. Didn't work. You can't cage what was born in chaos. Where have you been? I asked. Reaper stood. Towered, really. Well, they couldn't follow. And then movement. Flickers in the shadow. They weren't alone. At least a dozen more Pathfinders emerged, stepping from behind consoles, vents, walls. All human. All alive. All grinning like they'd just heard the punchline to a cosmic joke. We never left, Reaper said. We just waited. I turned to Oracle. Its glow flickered. Static raced down its form like frostbite. I do not. I must report. Its body jerked, then shattered. No one touched it. No weapon was drawn. It simply collapsed under the weight of what it couldn't process. Ruiz whispered, "That's going to be hard to explain to command." The Pathfinder surrounded us. No hostility. No welcome. Just recognition. Reaper looked me in the eye. "You laugh like us." I nodded. "We bleed like you, too." "Then you get the joke," he said, clapping my shoulder. Ruiz stared at me. "We're not joining them." "Right." I didn't answer, because part of me didn't know. We left the station without firing a shot. Council thought we killed the Pathfinders. We let them believe it. Didn't matter anymore, because the question wasn't whether the Council trusted us. The question was whether we trusted ourselves. And if the Pathfinders were right, if laughter was more than defiance, more than madness, if it was freedom, then maybe the cage was never built to hold us. Maybe it was built to keep the galaxy safe from what we are. The screaming stopped. Not ours. There's 3 weeks after the mining station incident. The Council lost contact with 7 outer colonies. Not human ones. Carthari Morvani, even a fortified Drakthol garrison. No distress signals. No wreckage. Just silence. We knew. Even before the council called us in, we knew. Ruiz stood in the briefing room, arms crossed, jaw locked. They're active. I nodded. The Pathfinders aren't hiding anymore. Henderson leaned on the wall, unusually quiet. I think they were waiting for us. For proof the galaxy was still scared enough to deserve them. The council didn't see it coming. They thought they were still in control, that their leash had teeth. They didn't understand that every time they sent us into hell and watched us laugh, they were feeding something. Not just us, but others, those who had been left behind, buried, forgotten. The Pathfinders were no longer a ghost story. They were a movement. It began with whispers across the outer net. Pirate crews vanishing without a trace. Slaver fleets abandoned mid-route. Hulls marked with crude human graffiti. Smiley faces painted in blood. Then the videos surfaced. Grainy, untraceable. Clips of heavily armored figures, laughing, always laughing, storming strongholds and leaving nothing but burned banners and terrified survivors. The captions? We're back. Did you miss the punchline? Humanity has no off switch. The council panicked. For the first time in centuries, they panicked. And that's when everything cracked. They called it the Silent Exodus. 16 human colonies, council loyal, cut ties overnight. Communications shut down. Outposts evacuated. Ships gone. Not out of fear, but out of choice. They were leaving the council, one by one, quietly, efficiently, as if they had been waiting for the moment. We weren't the only ones sick of the chains. TSKKVA summoned me in private. No guards. No counselors. Just her and me. She looked tired. Not physically, emotionally. Her people, the Scar, had backed humanity for decades. Now she was watching that trust splinter. I warned them, she said, voice low. I told them you cannot control a storm by bottling it. You must weather it. Respect it. They didn't listen. No, she said. And now the old ghosts are laughing again. She leaned in, closer than ever before. I ask you, Captain Raleigh, can you stop them? I didn't answer for a long time. Then, would you want me to? Because here's the thing. The Pathfinders weren't wrong. The galaxy had tried to cage us, tried to clip our instincts, smooth our edges, regulate the madness that made us us. They didn't want soldiers. They wanted servants. And now they were paying the price for that arrogance. That night, Ruiz, Henderson, and I stood in the drop bay of the Aegis Dawn, staring out at a blinking star chart, sectors marked in red, systems going dark. Every mark was a place the Pathfinders had touched. Feels like we're watching a fire spread, Henderson said. No, I replied. Fire burns until there's nothing left. Ruiz asked, then what are we watching? A punchline. They looked at me. A joke told so long and so loud, the universe finally got it. And then it happened. A council dreadnought. The herald of balance. Flagship of peacekeeping diplomacy. Destroyed. Not by pirates. Not by warlords. By humans. Message left in orbit. Burned into the hull of the wreckage. In white-hot plasma script. Your silence was the first scream. That was when the laughter stopped. The galaxy, so used to our grins, our jokes, our insanity in the fire, finally realized humans don't always laugh. Sometimes we go quiet, and when we do, that's when the monsters wake up. They thought the end would be loud. Explosions, shouts, war cries echoing across the stars. But it wasn't. When it finally came, when the galaxy stood at the edge of reckoning, the humans didn't charge in screaming. We walked in quietly. That's when they realized the laughter had never been madness. It had been a warning. We stood before the Galactic Council one last time. Ruiz beside me, armor scorched from the last Black Ops mission we were officially never part of. Henderson silent, scarred, eyes harder than any metal forge in space. And me, Captain Raleigh, dressed not for battle this time, but diplomacy. The chamber was full. The Scar, the Morvani, the Carthari, the Drakthal, representatives of 62 species. All watching, all waiting, all afraid, not of our weapons, not of the war, but of the possibility that the laughing monsters had finally gone cold. TSKKVA stepped forward. She was older now. Her carapace dulled, but her voice was steel. The Pathfinders are no longer rogue, she announced. They are coordinated, tactical, spreading an ideology of chaos and retribution across the sectors. And they're not hiding anymore. She turned to us. To the Terran Vanguard. What are your orders? Are you with them? I looked her dead in all 6 eyes. No. A visible ripple of relief swept the chamber. I waited, then added, but we're not with you either. The chamber froze. Ruiz dropped the data crystal onto the central pedestal. It flickered alive, displaying star maps, dozens of them, highlighting sectors quietly claimed by humans. Not through war, through evacuation, infrastructure, ghost fleets settling into unregulated space. We hadn't been building a rebellion. We'd been building something else. New Terra Alliance, I said. Independent, unaffiliated, unmonitored. We're done playing lapdog to a council that fears us more than it trusts us. A Drakthol commander snarled. You abandon unity for solitude? No, Henderson said flatly. We abandon fear. The Morvani envoy trembled. You were always laughing, even in blood, even in death. Why stop now? Ruiz smiled, not manic, not wild, just calm, because you didn't listen to the joke. You only feared the sound. I stepped forward. The laughter wasn't insanity. It was how we survived. You feared us when we laughed, but you never asked why we needed to. You never asked what kind of pain we had to laugh through. I took a breath. But you should be more afraid now. The chamber held still, because we're not laughing anymore. Silence, the kind that makes your heartbeat sound like thunder. And then, the Morvani burst into stuttering luminescence, a sign of distress. Others followed. A dozen species began speaking at once. Panic, confusion, bargaining. As if they finally realized they'd never controlled us. They'd just kept us amused. And now, we were bored. TSKKVA stepped forward, eyes wet with something close to sorrow. You will go your own way, then? We already have, I said. As we turned to leave, the chamber called after us. What if the galaxy needs you? I didn't stop walking, but I answered. Then it should have treated us like allies, not weapons with smiles. That was the day humanity left the council. Not in fury, not in war, but in a silence more terrifying than any scream. The Pathfinders vanished with us, absorbed into the new Terra fleets. Rumors said they went deeper than deep space, to places unmapped, waiting for a threat worthy of their madness. We let the galaxy keep its rules, its fear, its cage. We had our own path now. No leashes, no chains, no laughter, just a cold promise that if ever, they'd try to bring us back, they'd find out what we sound like when we really get serious. Because laughter was never the threat. We were the punchline. And now, the joke's over.